G'day, Luke, and thanks very much for joining us. And we're talking today about the ethnic ministry that you guys are involved in up in Brisbane. To begin with, just because we've got a lot of people from around Australia and other places, what is the ethnic character of Brisbane? Is it, particularly Anglo-Saxon, or is it, particularly Asian? What is it?
I think Brisbane, in comparison to, say, Sydney, is reasonably Anglo, but I think that's probably been changing in the last few years. I think with the number of refugees coming over, boat people, as resettlement, a lot of resettlement happening in and around Brisbane. So the number of migrant refugees, etc., has increased significantly, I would say, over the past few years.
So tell us a bit about the ethnic group that your church has been seeking to form a relationship with.
Sure. So we've not necessarily connected with just one ethnic group, so we've connected broadly. So we've had a couple in our church quite passionate about reaching the nations and doing that through English. So they had taught English elsewhere, and so they wanted to begin to do that within our church, which we encouraged, and a number of other people have come along to help that. So we started teaching English in a suburb that is next door to the suburb where we meet as a church each Sunday. So that began small, and we've since moved to a larger migrant area in the western suburbs of Brisbane called Geneva, which is extremely multicultural, Aboriginal, large Vietnamese community, Chinese, Sudanese, all the refugees are being settled into that area. It's a bit of a hub, and so we've been meeting there, teaching English, and so there's people from China, people from Sudan, people from Vietnam, people from Ethiopia, people, as far as Sri Lanka, if it exists, they're coming, and we could pretty much have as many people as we wanted. So there's desire for it, and it's really appreciated. And so it's really a matter of how many volunteers can we get from our church that come along to connect with them through the English classes that we do.
Wow. So it sounds like you've got the world in your backyard at the moment. How are you building the connection between ESL and the church itself? I mean, obviously there's the relationship between the people, but what other things are you putting in place to try and help that?
Yeah. So there's a few aspects. So as you say, relationally, most of the helpers come from our church. We invite them along, that sort of stuff. So they're being invited into the church context. So we're seeing a bit of that happen on Sundays. There's a bit of more of a multicultural flavour to who's coming along on a Sunday morning. We've got a church camp coming up, so we're inviting them all along as guests. So we've got kind of a super reduced price that's kind of getting to be affordable for that group. So we're inviting them along to that so they can connect with our church community. We're also, each week we teach the Bible, so we do kind of an interactive Bible story each time. So they're getting a bit of the flavour of what Christianity is about and church is about. And as people show interest and a bit more interest, we bring them along to church. People are doing, Bible studies, that sort of stuff, just one-to-one, meeting with them, investigating Jesus, read the Bible together, that sort of
So let me see if I can clarify this for the people who are listening. The ESL classes, you've actually integrated those in the way that you witness. So some content of the class itself actually has a sort of a Bible element.
That's right. So we do probably about 45 minutes of a topic. Might be worry, it might be whatever the topic is. Often that actually ties into the Bible story. So we start with the Bible story in mind, and then take the topic that's out of that, form a class around that topic that we talk about, but in general terms, and then have morning tea, and someone will get up and tell the Bible story physically, act it out, do something along those lines, engage with simple English, and then we go back and spend 20 minutes talking about that story and what it means. So it might be the story of the prodigal son, or Zacchaeus was last week, and et cetera, et cetera.
Look, Australia is becoming increasingly multicultural, and for that reason, a lot of church planners are interested in reaching the nations, I guess, that God is bringing to us. But how much of what you're doing depends on having had some people come to you, as I mean, like, talented people within your own congregation, and how much have you been able to train people up? Because some people might feel like, oh gosh, if I don't have somebody who's an English teacher, like this couple you're talking about,
Sure.
this is not really open to me.
Sure. So I would say the majority of our volunteers have never done anything like that before. So pretty much we say if you can speak English, you can do it. And the reality is there's a number of ministries, a number of people that do this around the place. And so you can get all the lessons. You don't even have to do that for yourself if you don't want to. So you can get all that sort of stuff. And it's very, very basic. Talk through, answer some questions. It's conversation. Let's talk about families, okay? Who's in your family? What do if you can speak English, anyone can do it. It's very simple.
So this is tangible love and tangible service connecting through to real opportunities. Let me ask you just about those opportunities. When you preach the gospel to different ethnic groups, have you had to adapt, change, be mindful of anything in particular when you're trying to preach it?
Probably in terms of the Bible story, we're not adapting anything. When you get to actually meeting to talk about the gospel, we've taken some basic tools and then you have to adapt them a little bit. So primarily the biggest issue probably hasn't been the cultural issue, it's been the lack of English issue. And so if you're going to communicate the gospel in very simple English, it takes longer. You've got to think about it a little bit harder. So we've got some set courses that we run, but for someone with very simple English, it's just going to fly right over their head. So we've worked at just simplifying one concept a week, take it a little bit longer. Instead of reading a big chunk of the Bible, let's just read a verse. And what's this say? So let's talk about sin instead of let's look at Romans 1 to 3 or something like this. Let's look at Romans 3:23. What does that say? Stuff like that.